This is the Standards Committee on the 1st of July. The first item is the election of chair for the civic year 25-26. Do I have a nomination, please? Councillor Sands? Do I have a seconder? Yeah, thank you. Do I have any other nominations? No, we do just need to take a vote on that. All those in favour of Councillor Driver as chair, please show. Or, yeah, any, lovely. And that is Councillor Driver duly elected. Do you want to move over there?
Thank you for turning up at the first meeting of the Standards Committee this year, and thank you for being elected chair. We'll go through the agenda as written down. Declarations of interest. No apologies.
Sorry, Chairman, just first, could we go through the fire safety part on the beginning on that on the other sheet, if that's okay, please?
I have no practical issues to highlight. We have no fire drill planned today, and if there is a fire alarm, please make your way out the building in the calm and orderly fashion as guided by staff using the main staircase and using the war memorial as the muster point in the front of City Hall. People with mobility issues would gather in the foyer on the right hand side to leave the Mancroft building near the balustrade where assistance will be provided. Toilets are on the far end of the corridors either side of the council chamber. Ladies to the right as you leave and gents to the left. Members of the committee may use electrical devices to access their meeting papers and visitors are welcome to use mobile phones and other devices, including cameras, but please use them discreetly, set them to silent and do not use voice or camera flash functions. And this meeting is being live streamed on the council YouTube channel. When members of the committee and chair and officers will introduce themselves, start from my left, going round the room.
Councillor Beth James.
Thank you.
Lucy Galvin. Judith Lubbock.
Councillor Mike Sands.
Thank you. And officers coming downwards.
Alexandra Cosme, Senior Committee Officer.
Thank you.
Joanna Hannon, Independent Member.
Robert Carmichael, Democratic Services Manager.
The Monitoring Officer.
Leonie Berwitt, Senior Committee Officer.
Okay, brilliant. Apologies for absence. I received one from Councillor Cat, who's on holiday, I believe. Any others? Did Peter send in a? And I forgot what his second name is today. Peter Fraser, yeah. Thank you. Declarations of interest, anyone? Members? No? Thank you. Election of vice chair. Can I have nominations for vice chair, please?
Can I nominate Lucy Galvin?
Thank you. Seconder. Thank you. Anyone else? All those in favour of Lucy, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you. Five minutes of the last meeting. Do we agree they're a correct record for people who were here? Councillor Sands?
I wasn't here, but in reading through the minutes, I noticed that questions 13 through to 17 weren't actually printed in the minutes. It would have been useful to know what the questions were that were to be referred to councillors. Yeah.
We can add them. Thank you. We'll add them. Do we agree they're a correct record now with the added bits coming in? Well, I think it's only me and Judith there, to tell you the truth. So, Judith, we okay? Thank you very much. Move on now, we're on to item 6, debate not 8. Can I ask Jan to introduce the report, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this report moves on from the work that Standards Committee has been doing around the abuse and intimidation of councillors, which culminated in our debate not hate motion being unanimously agreed in November. We then had the Joe Cox Foundation and coming into Standards last time, and we also talked about the motion from council which detailed a load of actions. So we've been looking at those actions that came out from the motion. One of the things that we were what we've been focused on really for those councillors who are not on the committee before is actually what we can do to support councillors with abuse and intimidation. And I'll get Rob to just update where we are on the actual report. So the idea was that we would have a report that councillors could access fairly easily to just log when they were, you know, victims of abuse or intimidation, and that would come into us, and we'd be able to then look at it and provide the support that councillors may need or take further action if required, depending on the severity of that abuse. So just over to Rob, really, where we are with the actual online form.
Thank you, Jan. So with the form, I've been working with our IT team to make sure that it's fit for purpose. So we've been going through the different elements of how we can make it relevant for councillors, because obviously your role is very different to that of staff, and we need to make sure that we make it pertinent to yourselves. So we've gone through, I've worked with the team to get all the questions as they are. So what we'll be doing is we'll be doing testing, and then we'll be asking some councillors to do some testing on it as well to make sure that they feel that it's fit for purpose. And then once we've got that feedback, we'll incorporate that in, obviously, and then we'll look at a proper place to put it on eCouncillor. So we're thinking of putting it on there so it's simply a link that members would be able to go and click on from there, either the homepage or just beyond the homepage, with regards to so that in an appropriate place there. And then members would be able to go straight to that, and then it will come through to ourselves, and then we would be able to take it forward, or it'll go and refer or provide advice beyond that point. So that's where that's at this current point. But I apologise that we don't have anything to show you today. I was really hoping that we'd have screenshots and things that we could bring before you, but I'm afraid that hasn't been possible to bring that before you today. Thank you, Jan.
Anybody has any comments on that? I mean, yeah, okay.
Well, have you got a date when it might be ready? It's apologies if you said that.
I'm hoping that for the testing element to send to I'm hoping the testing date for councillors will have it back to, so it will come back to me soon, and then hopefully by the end of July we'll be able to send it to councillors to get that testing part done, and hopefully up and running essentially by the end of the summer at the latest. But I'm hoping we'll be able to get there a lot sooner with that, but that's sort of my deadline that I want them to get that done by.
Just really glad also to see this progressing, so it was my motion, I proposed it. Just wondering, in terms of those concerns that are raised, what's the process for risk assessing those?
Yeah, that it's part of the action plan that we need to do, is to formulate a risk assessment. So coming on to the next bit in a minute, we will need to have a risk assessment for councillors, and that will have to be part of that process. So we'll have the form, we'll register, and then we'll need to pick that up to go through a risk assessment with councillors about whether there is a threat to actually their well-being, whether they feel safe and whatever. And we've obviously got the police working in conjunction, and I've forgotten what the actual, I think it's my age, I've forgotten what the actual operation is called, but there's an operation something which is in place with the police, particularly looking at that at the moment. So we will liaise with the police around that.
Can I also ask, have you had a word with the MPs yet?
No,
And
no.
the crime commissioner?
No, we need to do all of that, and that's going to be part of the action plan that we're coming on to in Appendix B, which is the self-assessment toolkit. So I think what we need to do is get some comments from you today, go away, work up an action plan And that will include all of that, how we address and speak to all of these people, what training we need to put in place, what support we can put in place, and bring it back to this committee.
Okay, Mike.
I think you might have been referring to Operation Forward,
That's the one.
which we had, all the county councillors had a briefing on that a couple of months ago. It's very, very good, excellent. It was something I've been calling for through CTLP for quite some time. And just as an interesting point, one of the little things that came through is if a councillor phones the police for any reason and says, I'm councillor so-and-so, that immediately flags up in the control room and increases the priority of the councillor's call. And we were told at the briefing this is going to be rolled out to all of the districts, so I'm guessing we'll get it sooner
So
or later.
that police officer has contacted us, and we've just set up some member briefings. So that is one of the parts of the action plan, but we are in liaison with him to actually get a date in the diary for him to come and talk to our councillors.
Yeah. We had it as an online briefing, enabled everyone to join in, and there was a series of slides
Yeah.
and things.
And we can absolutely do that, councillor.
And it really is worthwhile. Yeah.
Yeah, it will.
So you'll be really pleased to know. So not overview, Scrutiny has agreed on its work programme to have participatory democracy. And one element of that, which I'm very keen to do with councillor support, is to promote becoming a councillor. So the intention is to get some videos from councillors in situ about their experience, why you all do it, and have that as the campaign, but actually invite people who may be interested in being a councillor into the council offices and have a little bit of a session with councillors so that you can talk to them about what you get out of it, and we can talk about things like how many committees you attend, what the sort of process is, what your allowances are, what support we provide you, just to promote that role. It's not political. We're not going to get in any way in choosing candidates or anything like that. That's not for us to do, but it's to promote that role of being a councillor and to try to increase that participation. So that is on our agenda.
Lucy?
Thank you. That sounds really good and really positive. I think I'm on that task and finish group. So the participatory democracy. So we just need to make sure we have the right way of reporting back to standards and involving standards in that work. And I really like the idea of it being non-political, essentially, about the council, about democracy as a whole, rather than party politics. So that's excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask a question, if I can. I ain't seen anywhere in here, but I know the city council, they have, or the housing department and other places have a warning about do not turn up on your own to certain properties in the city. Would it be a good idea if all councillors knew what the council knew in their areas about what's going on in their areas, so we don't go around on our own and knock on the door and they say, come in, and then we're in an awkward position?
Yeah, so without predetermining anything, what I'd like us to agree today is for us to be able to go away and work up a toolkit for councillors to have, which talks about safeguarding, what you should do when you're going out to talk to constituents. Also, if you need to, bring them in here and get one of the Dem Services officers to sit with you so that they can document. Just that also gives you an element of safety, especially if it's a controversial matter, or it's a safe, that person is vulnerable, it would always be advisable to go in twos in that circumstances, but put all that together and some training.
Unless we get told.
Yeah.
We just want
And-
to go on alone.
And there is a list which I believe is available to councillors, but I need to find out exactly how you access that, because I'm not sure. Okay. All right, so we need to get a protocol in place for all of that, and that's what I'd like to do as part of this committee's work, if that's okay with you.
I was just going to say a lot of that comes out in the Operation Forward briefing. So, yeah.
Not wanting to take tone down, going back to the nitty gritty of risk assessment. Sorry, it's my job in many ways. So just wondering, it might be worth, and probably thought about this, but at the start of the form being very explicit of what should be reported on a form and what actually needs to be quicker than that, because forms sometimes don't get reviewed for 48, 72 hours. I don't know what the turnaround is going to be, but I think for people on the receiving end of things, often you're likely to minimise it, and I know I did to start with, and actually it needs a quicker response before things escalate. So being very clear, these things actually, be it that we call someone demonstrated or what goes straight to the police, that sort of thing, because it can be really confusing when you're in the middle of it. So I think something explicit around that, of what goes on a form and what doesn't. Also, just in terms of often, obviously there's the stuff the police are doing, but not reinventing the wheel again as well. There's stuff they've got round that they give to parliamentary candidates. And I know a lot of the guidance I got around my personal safety doing that was really useful, and I apply that particularly around, it was real basics, but actually it was useful. And it gave a quite good of, I did start to wonder when telling people where I was all the time. I said, should I just tell my cats? But beyond that was a little bit awkward when you've got no one else at home. I think also just in terms of a kind of, maybe it's not something we need to be really explicit, but what other support where things escalate and understanding the thresholds for things. So if we need to go down, and I know I'm being negative in some sense, but where we need to involve, go down a legal route, understanding the thresholds with that is really also quite difficult when you're in the middle of it, and understanding particularly around harassment orders, stuff like that. And also knowing we've got the right advice on board, because I think that was something we struggled with, of going, where do we go? Who in MP law, for example, had those expertise? We had to get in that support, I think, at one point. So having those things, hopefully we never need them, but knowing they're there because then we've got them quickly if we need them. It's a kind of insurance policy.
No, I think we've taken that all on board, and if the committee are minded to agree now, what we'll do is we'll go away and work up a risk assessment, bring it back with the form for next time. That'll be the first action. Start on the action plan for this toolkit, get the training carried out with councillors, and then review next time what more you feel, what's come out of that. We'll also get confirmation about how you access the at risk list, which you can check before you go into a property if you've got any concerns. So if committee are okay with that, we'll take that away as actions and bring it back to the next standards committee. Sorry, councillors, it's me again, I'm afraid. So the purpose of the report is just to give you an update of since I've been in post since October and the activities that have taken place. So just to say that we're welcoming Joanna here today, who's our new independent person. We have actually undertaken, we've got 2 people actually now appointed as our independent persons. And these people are there for councillors. If you have a complaint made against you, you can contact the IP to talk about the complaint. They're there to give you that support, but they're also there to support the monitoring officer as well, looking at any complaint independently and giving their point of view. So that's the checks and balances. So welcome, Joanna. Would you like to just say a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Joanna Hannam. I've got thank you, Joanna Hannam. I've got about a lot of experience in local government. I worked for Norfolk County Council for over 10 years. I worked in the NHS for 8 years as a health improvement director and a public affairs person. And I've got a background in voluntary and community work. So I worked for voluntary organisations too. And so I currently am a non-executive director of the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital, where I am also the member appointed to be in independent review of maintaining high professional standards, so complaints against surgeons or clinicians. So I've got some experience in this work, and I suppose at County Council, part of my portfolio was managing the complaints function. So in terms of the kind of process and what's important and maintaining an even line, as it were, I think I've got quite a lot of experience there. So I've been in and out of Norwich City Council for years. I've lived in Norwich with my husband and family now for over 30 years, and I absolutely love it. I'm also vice chair of Age UK Norwich, which is very close to my heart. So that's me in a nutshell, really. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, that's sounding great. Have you met the other independent person yet or not? Linda? You have met already.
Met online. We haven't met in person. I know he wanted to come here today, but he can't. But he's got a lot of experience as an independent person, because I think he's also the independent person for a couple of other local authorities. So
Good, that sounds all right to me. Jen, Councillor Lovick.
Yeah, just to say welcome and pleased that you've joined us. Your face is very familiar. I think it comes from going to the Norfolk and Norwich Hospital too much and seeing you on that big panel there. I wondered, where have I seen that face before? No, I know. But well.
Okay, well. Okay, is there anything to be said on the 3 cases, Jen?
No, just that we had 3 cases. They were dealt with. There was quite a lot of activity around. So the first case related to a newspaper article in the EDP written by Councillor A, which Councillor believed was defamatory. We had an independent investigator look at that, and the complaint was not upheld. We had complaint number 2, which was a number of complaints related to Councillor C's behaviour from members of the public. The code of conduct, and there was lots of debate in the paper about this, but just to be clear, the monitoring officer does not have any mandate to act when councillors are acting in their personal capacity. That's a matter outside of my remit, and it's a matter that only the police can deal with, and the police were informed of this and they took the appropriate action at the time. We have one outstanding at the moment, and this is with regards to allegations on social media. That has not been determined, as we're still awaiting the investigation outcome, and that is being undertaken by an independent solicitor as well.
Okay, do we know how long that's going to take? That's been going on for 2 months.
It has been going on, but there's...
And it seemed like the time was solved or not solved.
Yeah.
That's near enough all blown over in a certain way.
I think the investigator has asked for some more information, so that is... I chased last week, so it's...
Because it must be bad for the person who's been investigating.
It is.
Such as hanging over him and over it and over him, where it could have been sorted out in a couple of weeks.
I do agree, and I will chase again this week.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, anyone? Beth?
So it's more of a process question following on from what
No.
is there any way to introduce something, or is it statutory?
We try to say within 30 days. It depends. If I'm honest, it's because it's a solicitor looking at it, and it's trying to get through their workload and getting hold of them. But we could try, you know, we do try to impose a standard of trying to get it done within 30 days, but it depends really on how complex the situation is and whether they have a sufficient information, because what they're trying to prove is beyond reasonable doubt on the complaint. So they will look to try to get the evidence to prove beyond reasonable doubt. It's the same as any you know, any prosecution really, even though it's not necessarily a prosecution, but they have to be sure either way, because if it's just hearsay on either side, that complaint can go nowhere. So it's just trying to establish the facts.
Thank you. Can I ask another question? I'm not sure if this is the right place to do it, but I understand there's complaints and allegations going in about officers from members of staff, and members of staff complain about officers and stuff like this. And I've been told they've been going in and the complaints been made. Where do they actually disappear to? Because they don't come here.
So that would probably come under the whistleblowing complaints process. So they would be dealt with through our internal HR processes.
So where do councillors get to hear about that? Because they don't come to audit, even on the whistle.
So because it is a whistleblowing complaint, we guarantee confidentiality to the person who's whistleblowing, because it's their protection that by raising an issue, they are not going to be persecuted or, you know.
So how do we find out how many there is?
You could probably put a FOI request in.
Oh, not another one of them.
Oh, councillor inquiry, a councillor inquiry. But they are what they are. They are protected because of the confidentiality. We need to protect the people who may be raising the complaint.
Well,
And that's the most
I
important
just wondered if
part.
any councillors we can actually solve some of these problems or work out how the councillors actually feel them. Because if we do a staff survey about how well they're looked after and stuff like that.
Well, you can, as councillors, if you've got concerns, you need to be raising them with the director for HR, to say in the first instance you've got concerns, because as I say, for councillors, you have to be careful not to get into the realms of what is a staffing issue rather than a councillor issue. But you're very well within your remit. If you've got concerns about an issue, is to raise it with the appropriate person. And I would always say, for you, you know, you could always go directly to the head of paid service, who has the responsibility for staffing.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else got any questions? Okay, we have to vote on this report. So it's recommended that we adopt this annual report. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. And that's the end of the meeting. Thank you.